It sucks being an F1 fan sometimes. Great races are often few and far between, its media coverage can make you want to Vertonghen the shit out of someone's eye, and if you talk about political issues like grid girls, half the internet will find you and call you a cuck and accuse you of virtue signalling. True story. But if there's one thing I've learned about being an F1 fan as a fan of the sport most, it's that the sport I so often love refuses to love me back. And nothing says more about that to me at the moment than the state of F1 and two of its most exciting young talents. Stoffel, Vandoorne and Esteban Ocon may very well not be on the grid next year, and it's a walking travesty. It sucks for us as fans. As said on previous episodes, in a sport of engineering, money and politics, we as fans will always care most about the squishy bit behind the wheel more than anything else. But Ocon and Stoff are two of the biggest victims yet in the unravelling talent pool that is F1. I've used Red Bull before as the obvious example. It was clear from 2016 that the master plan was to have Max Verstappen be the man to build the team around, and it's cost them nearly everything to get to that point. Verne, Kvyat, Hartley, and now losing their longest tenured driver in Daniel Ricciardo next year as well. And don't think Pierre Gasly won't be next either, a driver who might be even better than the internet thinks he is. Truth of the matter here is, I'd be unfair to just make out like this is a Red Bull problem. It's an across the board issue. Ferrari's reserve department was reserved for simulator driving and PR videos. Esteban Gutierrez's contribution to this was making Kimi Raikkonen say "Gui." And deep down, I'm not sure Charles Leclerc would have made it if it wasn't for Jules Bianchi's tragic accident, who he himself was heading to Sauber in exchange for free engines. Antonio Giovinazzi's future still looks a tad rocky, the nature of being fourth in the queue. Renault have Artem Markelov and Jack Aitken sitting there, and the team's now probably a little too good for them to be gambled on. Dropping 20 million a year on Daniel Ricciardo and having one of the midfield elite in Nico Hülkenberg shuts a lot of doors. McLaren has been a hot mess ever since Hamilton left. Sergio Perez was hailed as the next big thing. It was too much, too soon in a shit 2013 car. He was dumped for Kevin Magnussen, who had a podium in his first race, and had a production level similar to Checo, but then had to be collateral damage for the return of Fernando Alonso. He and Button, a win-now team with a Honda-powered car not good enough to justify the talent lineup. Button takes a pay cut to stay, then retires a year later anyway, all in the meantime delaying A-plus prospect Stoffel Vandoorne's career by 1, maybe 2 years. And by the time he does get there, the Renault switch suffers teething problems, Stoffel's out by the end of year 2, and new owner Zach Brown is admitting the car is worse as a scapegoat, using his media ownership experience as a deflection to clear the decks for Lando Norris, their other A-plus prospect, as Fernando leaves for sports cars and pretending to smile at IndyCar tests. Fernando even had to defend Stoffel as a driver and point out his car was fundamentally slower. What a dumpster fire. And then there's Mercedes, the team that has Pascal Wehrlein, Esteban Ocon, and F2 champion-elect George Russell in the back, and yet, nothing. I get it, they're the best team in the sport, and having an experienced roster makes total sense. Bottas has genuinely been really good this season, but when you're taking pot shots at other teams for lacking the balls to sign Ocon, it exposes the real issue. Mercedes aren't as willing to invest in their drivers as much as their rivals. Say what you will about Red Bull and Ferrari, they've given their new blood chances. Gasly, Kvyat and Verstappen all Q-jumped at points in their career. Charles Leclerc will be the youngest Ferrari driver in nearly 60 years. As much as I would hate it, Mercedes aren't going to buy or micromanage a second team like their rivals have, and they can't lean on DTM anymore. Their customer teams are going through difficult times. Why else would Force India be running Lance Stroll instead? It's not the talent, even if Lance is probably a bit better than advertised, and Williams are currently the worst team in the field in a Stroll-less world. They're probably in a much greater world of pain than Claire Williams wants to let on. If they can't bribe them into taking one of their great drivers on, even if it meant the political bullying move of lending them an engine worth tens of millions of pounds, then your academy has failed. What's the point? This is the one thing Mercedes seems to have forgotten. If you're not in the top 4 in F1, you're surviving, not trying to win. This sport, in its current state, is uninvestable. We as fans hate the move towards quote-unquote pay drivers, the Marcus Ericssons and Ria Haryantos of the racing world, but we also have to acknowledge they're part of the reason these teams are still here. And despite what many on the internet say, 3-car teams aren't going to fix it. It's the embodiment of the fans' desire for all the young talent to drive without looking at all the ramifications. Locking off more of the points positions and forcing the independents to spend even more money to hire a third crew and car only forces them out quicker if they can't compete. Remember, someone has to finish last. You start getting factory teams down there who can't justify their greater spends, they'll pull out too, and then the sport collapses. It sucks. All of it. I totally understand why so many fans are calling foul for so many talented drivers being chewed up and spat out by the system. And I'll be the first guy to pour one out for Esteban and Stoffel. But if we as fans channeled that frustration back into the systems F1 has that stagnates talent, maybe F1 teams could retain their talent instead of looking for the home run every time a youth prospect's balls drop. Maybe teams like Haas could enter and crack the top 5 with some actual prize money to reward their outstanding early success. Maybe teams could gamble on development more than dip into the pay driver well. Maybe factories wouldn't have to hoard talent so much. Maybe, just maybe, it would lead to a better sport in general. Or we can get sucked into the Mick Schumacher hype train instead. That's cool too, right? Wow, this video ended up being over 7 minutes long. Yeah, I kind of suspect that the name of the series might need a change soon. But this was a spontaneous one, just came up with on the fly and ended up being the longest one I've done to date. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys soon. Sayonara.